You're listening to a bonus mini-sode on the Ambitious Bookkeeper Podcast. Welcome to another mini episode where I cover one quick topic. And today's topic, I am talking about when you have a team of bookkeepers, when you have questions for them, where do you communicate them? Let's get into it. So when you have questions for a bookkeeper on your team, I suggest having a process for how you're documenting that and staying consistent. So that could either be in a Google Doc where you hold all your questions for that particular client review and storing that in the client folder or the client file. So if you're using Google Drive, you would store that in your client XYZ file. Another way to do it is to communicate those corrections in your workflow management system. So creating one task with subtasks of each correction that needs to be made. If you are recording a Loom video for your team on how to do the corrections, paste that in there. That's a great way to do it. That way you can set a deadline and an expectation of when it's completed, and then you know when that team member has completed that, you can go back in and review it again. The other option is something that we do. We communicate internally within Slack, and we have a Slack channel for every client. Like I said, this is internal communication only. So while the Slack channel is named for a client, our client doesn't have access to this Slack channel. It is for internal communication. So as I'm reviewing, if I have one or two things that need correction, I will just send a Slack message to the team member. You can also create an Asana task or a ClickUp task from that Slack message. And that way you can kind of automate that whole thing where it's like you type it once and then you click on the message, you assign them a task and a deadline. That way they immediately get the notification. Whereas sometimes notifications get lost in Asana or ClickUp and your team may not see that. So I always feel like Slack is the best place for it. If you have a ton of corrections that need to be made, you definitely want to be documenting it in some sort of like Word document or Notion page so that your team can go through the whole list, and next time you also have that documented for the corrections that needed to be made. And this kind of serves as documenting training and things like that in the future. And if you need to make any type of performance improvement plan with your team member, you already have that there. So do what works for you in your system, but stay consistent and make sure you're communicating to your team the expectations. Thank you to everyone who helps make this podcast possible. Content and interviews are produced by me, Serena Shu. Our intro and outro music is written and performed by my brother, Ian Gilliam. Editing is also by Ian using his awesome sound engineering skills along with Descript software. Hosting and publishing is by Buzzsprout. And you can check out the show notes for links to all of these amazing resources and resources mentioned in the episode.
Be ambitious.